Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to have you and a very, very warm welcome to a very special session with one of the sharpest minds, a trendsetter, and a business leader. Karan, if you're going to stand through my entire introduction, it's going to be a long one. You have too many achievements. Karan, it's a pleasure to have you at AIMA, and many thanks for agreeing to have this chat. You've completed 25 years in the industry, and you are still fairly young. Needless to say, we're expecting much more cinematic excellence and innovation from you. Entertainment is in your blood. You have produced an enormous body of work over the last 25 years, and it would be highly apt for me to say, if someone truly understands the global impact of Indian music and Indian films, it's Karan Johar. You've given hit after hit. You've given hit after hit, not just in terms of films, but also in terms of the music of your films. When you debuted 25 years ago with Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, you made the world stand up and take notice. You won a whopping 8 Filmfare Awards and a national award. Of course, you haven't looked back since, and you've gone on to create your own genre of Hindi films. A Karan Johar type of film is a Karan Johar type of film. Your latest, Rocky Aur Rani Ki Prem Kahani, which marks 25 years in the industry for you, not only got you critical acclaim, but was also among one of the highest grossers of the year. It made a whopping 355 crores. Story has it, when Karan got flooded with appreciation by critics, he panicked and wondered how the box office would react. But of course, Karan is a genius. This time he got the love of the critics and the fans alike. It's a rip-roaring entertainer, and the AIMA Managing India Awards jury was unanimous in recognizing your achievement as the Director of the Year. Please join me in acknowledging one of the biggest showmen of our era, Karan Johar. In addition to being an outstanding writer and director, Karan is also a phenomenal entrepreneur and a business leader. It's not surprising that he's here today at the AIMA function. A few weeks ago, I heard him at a FICCI function. There's lots to be said about his leadership style. He's converted and transformed Dharma Productions into a conglomerate. It has Dharmatic Entertainment, Dharma 2.0, and Dharma Cornerstone Agency, and I don't know what else Karan has in store for us. In this session, we would like to learn a lot more about your journey in the industry, your creative process, your ability to seamlessly merge message with masti. Before we get into a question and answer with Karan, I would like you to briefly tell us about your journey in the entertainment industry so far, where you stand in your artistic and business career, and what we can expect next from you. After the questions I have for you, of course, we'll open it up to the audience for some questions. Thank you, and over to you, Karan.
Thank you, Avarna. That was just, this was amazingly heartfelt, and I'm deeply touched by your words and very humbled and honored as well. Avarna is much, much younger than me, but I have been friends with her parents. Her father has been exceptionally special to me over the years, and actually, he even broke company policy for me once, many, many years ago. The Saregama policy was never to kind of outsource a song to another company. And I remember calling him at a time of duress during the release of Student of the Year. And I asked for a favor. I won't get into details of what that favor was, but needless to say, it took him all of 2 seconds to say yes. To me, a gesture I don't think I can ever forget. It was his graciousness. It was his large heart and his passion for music and cinema that perhaps made him make that instant decision. And I did ask and say that I will never ever ask for this favor again. And he has never done something like this for anyone else. I'm so grateful to him. But that began an association, a friendship, and a relationship that really transcends to even Avarna. and the full family. So, big thank you and gratitude to him. Two things I think that I can say at age 52, having completed 25 years in the business, where I'm at right now, well, one, I'm definitely going through a midlife crisis, and which was meant to be a joke, by the way. And secondly, I'm just full of gratitude in my heart for the love and the support that I received from millions of people across the world, the Indian audiences, the diaspora. Immensely grateful to the masters that taught me their passion for celluloid, that translated so beautifully on celluloid. The great works of Mr. Yash Chopra, Mr. Raj Kapoor, Mr. Suraj Barjatya, Mr. Satyajit Ray, Mr. Guru Dutt, filmmakers that taught me that love and passion supersede your box office expectations and should never be directed towards business. It has to be first. Of course, what we do is a blend of commerce and art. But the most integral aspect of it all is to first believe, come with the courage of your convictions, and translate that conviction to passion on celluloid. I've only tried to do that in my journey of 25 years. I've built a studio which was my father's dream. Dharma Productions began in the year 1980. On October 8th, we released our first film, Dostana. In 2024, which is now 44 years later, I'm just so happy and grateful to the industry and to everyone who allowed me to take my father's dream and legacy forward. It is all about loving your parents. It's something that I have stated before through my work, but I do believe it. I believe we are a result of our parenting, and it's in our DNA to always try and, take our legacy of our families forward if we have the ability and the passion to do so. Today, where we stand, I've directed my 7th film, with Rocky Aur Rani Ki Prem Kahani, and 10 if you include the 3 short stories I directed. It's been an incredible journey, and I'm just always grateful that I do what I love. I always say, where else can you sing, dance, laugh and cry and still be at work? It's only at the movies. We can tell stories, we continue to tell stories, and that's what I'm here to do till I hope that I can, till I want to, when I eventually leave the universe, I want to leave a legacy of work that I can truly be proud of. And I'm work in progress, as I say, even today. I'm grateful to AIMA for inviting me. I'm so grateful for the award bestowed on me. And I represent not just me, but the entire production house, all of Dharma Productions, my CEO, Apurva Mehta, who's my best friend, and my partner in crime through this journey. And I thank the entire family at Dharma, because that's how we work. We work as a family to create the content we have. And it's always wonderful to stand on a platform and to be able to kind of express our journey. And I'm so grateful again to everyone at AIMA, to you, Avarna, to your father, and to everyone associated with AIMA to actually invite me today and have this fireside chat. So I hope to be able to kind of answer all of Avarna's questions with aplomb. Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you, Karan. So, Karan, first of all, congratulations on 25 years in the entertainment industry. It's a long time. And a special congratulations for your stupendous success with Rocky Aur Rani Ki Prem Kahani. But during these 25 years, you've donned many hats. Director, producer, talk show host, and many more. Which one has been the hardest?
Dealing with some of the ramifications of the talk show has been a tough part. The repercussions of some of what was said on the show still haunt me on social media. But I think when you say hardest, I would say not hard, but the most amount of passion that I have is that of being a filmmaker, being a director. That's my primary passion. Everything else has been a subset and an offshoot or a derivative or a vertical of my primary passion, which was always telling stories, directing movies. I'm really unhappy about the fact that I've only directed 7 feature films in 25 years. That is not something I'm proud of. And that is something I plan to change. This decade, I promised myself that I would make at least 5 films. I'm already 2 years too late. So I think even if I get 4 more out this decade, I will actually be happy and proud of myself if I manage to do that. Telling stories is really what my every dream is all about. So that has been the most, I would say the most amount of passion that has come from my DNA has been actually towards directing feature films.
Can we hold you to that?
Yes, please do. I need someone to like make me kind of accountable so that I can do that.
So, Karan, as director, and you said that's one of your favorite things to do is to be a filmmaker and to direct films, you are captain of the ship. What do you have to contribute and tell everyone here about your leadership style?
There was never a leadership style that I felt like that there was a rule book for, or a manual, or something that you can read in a motivational book about how great it is to be a leader. I think there's a lot of information available online, and there are books written about how do you be a best leader. And I've read a lot, but I'm sure that everyone in this room and everywhere who will hear this will resonate with the fact that there is no manual for it. It's all about your company and your experiences with the people in your company. But the two things that, Avarna, that I did learn through the years is there are 2 qualities that you have to have if you have to be leader. One is delegation. You have to know that if you're a control freak, you can't go very far. You have to delegate, because there are people who are designed to do certain things and they know better than you. And the other thing that has to be followed by delegation is trust. If you don't trust, then delegating is counterproductive. So I've always believed these are two pillars as a leader that I adopt on a daily basis, is delegation followed by trust.
I think the point that Karan makes is absolutely brilliant. Delegation followed by trust. And that actually goes to show what a brilliant leader he is. And I think, Karan, in the numbers that you produce, you sort of reflect the kind of leader you are, because if you weren't a brilliant leader, you won't actually produce the kind of numbers that you do. Which film has been closest to your heart?
I think the most personable film of my career is and will always be Ae Dil Hai Mushkil. Ae Dil Hai Mushkil was a piece of my own personal story. We've all experienced unrequited love or one-sided love in our lives. Some of us in our initial college years, school years, and high school perhaps, or then even post that. Not everyone has had a complete love story. There's always somebody who has had one broken tale of love or romance in their lives. Ae Dil Hai Mushkil was like a diary for me. It was actually a reflection of a collection and a reflection of so many of my personal feelings and thoughts about love and unrequited love. So for me, that will always be more than a feature film. It was a moment of catharsis when I made it. It felt like self-therapy. It felt like I healed after that film. And I felt making it changed me as a person. So for me, I feel a lot of my work that I've done, some I'm proud of, some I'm embarrassed about. Some moments I cringe when I see even today, because I'm like, oh God, like what was I thinking? And this could have been so much better. But Ae Dil will always be that personal story that I will always remain very, very happy that I was able to make.
So for everyone who hasn't seen Ae Dil Hai Mushkil, and I don't think there's many people here who haven't, please go and see it.
Yeah, it is about, while it is about one-sided and unrequited love, I think it's complete in its emotional syntax. And even if you don't resonate with the film, I hope that the music will connect with your soul.
You mentioned when you see some of your films or certain scenes, you cringe. Which has been the most cringe-worthy scene?
Oh God, there are so many. In my first feature film, I remember I felt like I got my gender politics all wrong. Which I tried to correct in Rocky Aur Rani Ki Prem Kahani. I felt I was only 24 when I wrote that film, and I didn't know better. I was taking, pages out of what I had seen of Hindi cinema. And I remember Shabana Azmi called me and fired me on the phone. She said that, छोटे बाल थे और टॉम बॉय थी तो प्यार नहीं हुआ, बाल लंबे हो गए, खूबसूरत हो गई तो इश्क हो गया, क्या कहना चाहेंगे आप? तो ऐसे माफ़ी मांगना चाहूँगा मैं क्या कहूँ? There's nothing I can say to justify. It was so, I don't cringe when I watch, because that's more the politics of it. But also I felt that Shah Rukh's main line that got very famous about हम एक बार जीते हैं, एक बार मरते हैं, प्यार एक बार करते हैं, शादी भी एक ही बार होती है. But he did both things again. So they were contradictory. He got married again and he fell in love again. So I'm like, how does this line make any sense? The third thing is I have children who are 7. And I really want to know what children between 1 and 7 would understand if I read them letters out, which is probably the main fulcrum of Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, that child read those letters. What was she exactly understanding? Because if I sat with Yash and Rui and started reading letters out to them, they would be like, Dada, I think you've lost the plot. Because what are you even trying to say to us?
But so, isn't that the genius of Karan Johar, that you told an absolutely unrealistic tale and everyone believed it?
And the one thing that I think, Avarna, happened is that it came with conviction. So much conviction that came with perhaps lack of information, knowledge and EQ at that age. But I was so convinced about it that I felt it was, wow, this is amazing. The mother's going to leave 8 letters behind. And I'm like, what will a 1-year-old understand in that letter, or a 2-year-old? And I didn't think of it. It was just conviction. So there are many moments like that through the films that I've made. Like when I see parts of Student of the Year or parts of so many movies, I'm like, oh my God, like, what do you think you were thinking? But it just, got accepted, hope, and passed, and some of it didn't. But irrespective, I think it's always essential to look back and acknowledge your failures or your flaws as much as your successes, because I think they really teach you much more than anything else.
I think what Karan calls his failures, we call successes. Let's hope you have many more failures just like the ones before.
No, but I really believe that, Avarna. I believe that if you can deal with failure and success in the same exact way, you will always be a successful human being. And that doesn't mean you equate success with just monies. You equate that with self-happiness and, what you're feeling within. Like, I feel like I acknowledge failure, I accept it, I embrace it, I also analyze it, and I move on. But the thing I move on the fastest from is success. Because resting on a laurel is wasting a whole lot of time. You have to move on. There's no other way.
That's an important life lesson there. Thank you for that, Karan. But tell me, do you ever feel the need for self-censorship to protect the commercial interests of your film?
There are some things that, traditionally, or in terms of how we were raised or brought up, that you can push a boundary, you can probably, push an envelope, but that you're raised in a way not to tear that envelope. So I think that self-censorship comes from your own DNA. It comes from, your accountability to your parents, right now to me, to my mother. Like I've seen when my mother saw, for example, Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna, I think she was shifting a lot in her chair because she was so awkward watching, some of the communication of that film, because she felt that this is not something that, I've seen you make earlier, because Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna was breaking stereotypes, was addressing infidelity, was addressing the gray area of human relationships. My mother was uncomfortable while watching it, but I did have a long chat with her after that, because I said, but I have to evolve as a storyteller myself. I have to tread into some terrain and turf that may not be immediately conventional or traditional, but it's within the realms of what our society goes through on a daily basis. Monogamy, infidelity, these are all topics that we brush under the carpet in our traditional areas of our families. We just don't talk about them, address them. And as a filmmaker, I find that I have tried in my own way, even in my short stories, I've tried to kind of push the envelope. But there comes a point, there are certain things that I wouldn't do anymore. I feel like we've made our errors in the past. We've gone through the phase where we've done these item songs. At that time, we didn't realize that this is objectification, or that a man chasing a woman is like romance and ashiki, but it amounts to stalking, which has a lot of, I would say, repercussions that are not at all solid or good. all this I realized in time. You know, it's not something that came to me earlier because I didn't know better. So there's a moment in Rocky Aur Rani Ki Prem Kahani where Ranveer addresses the cancel culture and he says, look, I didn't know better, but don't cancel me. Tell me and I will correct myself. So I think that's what's happened with me. I've learned on the job with time and where my EQ kind of finally replaced my GQ.
So, Karan, as a filmmaker, you're known predominantly for feel-good romances, as you just explained, whether it was infidelity in Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna, gender stereotypes or patriarchy in Rocky and Rani, the way you made Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. How do you manage to blend traditionally uncomfortable issues into mainstream cinema and yet keep them so entertaining?
I think if you do it with a certain amount of, I think the word is sensitivity, Avarna. I think that you're sensitive to the issue, you care enough about the issue, you also care enough for the communication of that issue. You want millions of people watching it to resonate with it, connect with it, understand it. So there are two things. There are some cerebral filmmakers that will be very, very true to their communication and do it in a way that perhaps is not palatable or understandable to a large, vast section of society. And then what certain critics will say dumbing down, but I call it accessibility. I'm like, can you make that issue in such a way, talk about it, that it's accessible to people who may not understand nuance, who may not buy into subtlety, but you need to communicate it with a little amount of front-footedness for it to come across. So I think if you're sensitive about the issue and sensitive about it reaching a vast audience, it'll happen organically. And that's what I've tried to do, even in my last feature film.
And how successfully have you done that?
Well, I've tried. I don't know. That's for an audience like when we addressed...
I think that was a statement.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was a question, but I was answering it with all sincerity.
No, absolutely not. You've done that absolutely brilliantly. And this brings me to my next question, which actually, how much potential do you think films have to change the thinking of society at large?
It's an enormously impressionable medium. We have time and again been told that, cinema is a soft power. Very few realize the importance of that. Our illustrious Prime Minister himself has said it time and again that, we are a very, very impressionable soft power and we can connect to millions of people through our communication. And we have time and again realized the ramifications of what's good and also what's bad. I believe that we have a tremendous power and therefore with tremendous power comes, as they say, tremendous responsibility. What we project, what we say, you have to account it with some amount of thought and sensitivity because people take the said word very seriously. Of course, no one can change the fabric of our society with one feature film. It's not possible. But it takes a lot of work and a lot of cinema if you want to really today drive home a point. I believe there have been so many films made that speak about, women empowerment, that talk about so many issues that are finally hitting home today. Today, there is an accountability because there's been a stream of cinema that have addressed these issues. Nothing, as you said, as I said, happens overnight. But I believe that the consciousness of our society has been enhanced considerably by what cinema has projected in the last decade or decade and a half. Of course, there's a flip to that as well. There have been films that continue to kind of be harmful, but I hope that those filmmakers realize with time how important the platform they have is, how important their voice is.
How would you balance cinematic creativity versus your responsibility to society?
It's exactly what I said, that you have to realize that with the responsibility you have to be careful about what you're projecting in your work. Of course, you're free to make a violent film. You're free to make an action film. It's the moral fiber of the film that you have to look at. And while you can say that, that this is not a lecture, it's a film to be entertained. It's not a lecture in moral science. But if you do it with conviction, and I've watched a lot of films that people may not have agreed with as well. People have not liked because they're saying you're glamorizing something or humanizing something that you shouldn't. But I always say, look at the intent of the filmmaker. If he or she are doing it with certain conviction and they're not making bold, broad statements. They're coming from a space of true belief in their character. Then I don't think they're humanizing it. They're actually just being honest to their character. So yes, it's a journey. It's always Avarna, and there's so many perspectives and points of view. There can be debates. Social media is a daily debate on so much. I have my point of view. You'll have yours. Gazillion people will have theirs. But I feel personally, I always look at the repercussions first and the written word later.
So, under the Dharma umbrella, you've created many new ventures. What is your larger aim for the group?
Is to be able to enhance our infrastructure hugely, is to be able to tell many more stories, is to be able to bring in more verticals within the Dharma umbrella. I feel I'm at the tip of the creative iceberg, and I have so much more to achieve. And I've never felt more energized. I feel like every day I wake up with a different idea, with a different story to tell, with a different business plan, or with a different artistic decision. And I still feel like I have miles to go before I, sleep.
When you made films like Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna, My Name is Khan, were you playing to the Indian diaspora, or did that happen by chance?
No, I mean, so I've been asked this a lot that आप सिर्फ NRI films बनाते हैं, मुझे पता भी नहीं इसका मतलब क्या है. आप क्या कहना चाहते हो इससे मुझे समझ भी नहीं आता कि the diaspora, they're also Asian, they're Indian, I mean, it's not that they're living on Mars, they're living in the same world. They're as traditional as you are. They've been raised by the same kind of traditional fabric that we have. They're as culturally connected as we are. They just geographically live somewhere else. I'm making films for an audience. Indians across the world, Indians in our country, Indians everywhere. I never sat and made a blueprint of what the diaspora likes or doesn't like. Nobody knows that blueprint. Nobody knows anything actually. We just make films from our heart. When I made Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, I didn't even know that people out of the country watch movies in numbers. I didn't know the statistics then. I was just a young, restless, excited filmmaker who was given this opportunity, and I wanted to tell my story. Subsequently, with the film's success internationally as well, I was told that my films have worked continuously in that market, but it was never the plan. The plan was always to just make a film that connects with an audience. And I believe that everything else is just geography.
So Kuch Kuch Hota Hai was just serendipity, and you made so many crores out of just chance.
Well, it's a whole lot of destiny and hard work, I think, It's like, I feel like it was also a part of my destiny to have met Aditya Chopra, to have met Shah Rukh Khan, two pillars, two reasons why I sit here today. They are the reasons why I am here today. So it was destiny that I met them. They acknowledged something to me about me that I didn't see in myself. And I will always be grateful to them for that. The rest was a lot of just passion. And I remember asking my father that, what if I fail? In my first film, will I still have a job? And he said, it doesn't matter if you fail or not. It matters that you should have another story to tell. And then if circumstances allow, you'll make the film. And if you can't make the film, I'm sure whatever you do, you'll do with the best of your ability. So I was ready even at Kuch Kuch Hota Hai to fail even then. As I'm ready before every release. I'm always ready to fail. It doesn't affect me in that way anymore. But when you ask me that question, I feel like it's a lot to do with destiny as well, but nothing happens without hard work.
I think that's the humility of Karan Johar, because what he's skipping in this answer is the fact that he's a brilliant filmmaker.
That's open for debate, and many will. But I agree to the criticism as I do to the praise, because I remember when I directed the first anthology with Zoya Akhtar, Divakar Banerjee, Anurag Kashyap and myself. They were like, why have you agreed to do this? I said, because I want to ride on the back of their critical acclaim. Because I feel like through my career, I've never really received abundance of critical acclaim. It's been a lot of commercial success, but I've always aspired and seek that validation of the critics. And while many people have told me, but why should you seek the validation of critics? Why are you empowering them? I said, why not? They're people, strong cinephiles with great with great sensibilities. I do want to wake up to like many star reviews. I'm fed up of reading, oh, it's just another Karan Johar film. Welcome to the world of mush. Welcome to the world of bubblegum. Welcome to this, welcome to that. And I'm doomed by perception. So, like you said it in your introduction, when I woke up to praise for Rocky Aur Rani, the first thing I did was check the box office. I said, क्या दोनों हो सकते हैं क्या? Picture चल भी सकती है और critical acclaim भी मिल सकता है. And when I realized things were good in the hood, I was like heave a sigh of relief.
But realistically, how often do you think filmmakers achieve both critical acclaim and commercial success?
Well, it's the big dream, right? And I feel like many filmmakers actually say critics don't matter. It matters to every single person. Let me tell you, everyone loves praise. No matter what they say, no matter what they project, they all love to be praised. There's not a single person in my industry who doesn't love the praise. We may say what we want, make brave statements against the critics, but they matter. They matter, and how. That's why if you notice, the first thing up when a film releases is the stars. You'll see those ads on social media with every leading publication, 3, 4, 3, 4. Sometimes when the stars are less, they'll write the line that is good. They'll do everything in their capacity, and then they'll turn around and say, oh, critics don't matter. If they don't matter, then why are you putting this out? So you have to know that everyone matters. Everyone's opinion matters.
Karan, you've always stayed very relevant and very ahead of the game. You know what Gen Z wants. So how does Karan Johar stay abreast of everything Gen Z?
Because Avarna, the way Dharma Productions is that we keep it, the moment you have distance between yourself and people. Do you know, for example, if you come to my office, I don't sit on this table where your meetings are crossed. Like I have just a couch. And whoever comes sits there and chats with me. And I'm walking around the office. I'm meeting all the young members of the organization, chatting with them, never distancing myself from their opinions, their thoughts, their ideologies, their way of being, their music, their love for cinema. I'm always chatting with them. I'm never creating a distance between them. There's no food chain of command in our organization. We have an open door policy. Everybody knows that the three qualities is accessibility, affability, amiability. These three can get you anywhere. So if you talk to someone who's 20 years old, and I'm going to be 52 in May, and I'm like, if I sit on a high horse about who I am, I'm never going to find out his or her belief system or his or her way of being, what they like, what they don't like. The moment you break that barrier, you actually get so much information that can be so influential to us, and I can use that as a resource to tell my stories. So when there was one particular day, I remember I woke up in the morning, had a meeting with Ananya Pandey, and I ended the day by meeting Dharamji. And I was like, that was a spectrum that went from 22 to 90 on the same day. And I was equally excited about meeting both. So I think it's your own passion, really.
So, who are the people who believed in you when you were 20-something and decided to do Kuch Kuch Hota Hai?
The two people, Aditya Chopra first, and Yash Chopra, his father, and Shah Rukh Khan. I mean, they both, Adi and Shah Rukh, are the reason why I say, like, I would do anything for them at any point of time, only because they are the only two reasons why I'm here today. There is not a third. As passionate as I was, as diligent as I may have been, as sincere as I was, and I was all those things in abundance. But what happens when you don't have people who are in powerful positions like that? You can make it entirely on your own still, because your belief system can be strong enough to combat all odds. But I was fortunate that my struggles came later. My first initial step was because two people who were not related to me by blood or family believed in me very strongly. And that was the reason why I could do what I did. Like, there was no other reason.
That's absolutely commendable to have someone who's not your family believe in you at that young age. Obviously.
And I don't know why, because my mother even asked Adi. She says, why do you think he can be a director? He's had no, he's only worked in one film on Dilwale Dulhania as an AD. And Shah Rukh didn't even know me. I didn't know him. Actor. And I acted. Well, that part I skipped because I'm vastly embarrassed about most of my acting gigs in the movies. But it was just something that he believed that I was. And I was actually running away from it. I was trying to get a formal education out of the country to do a business vertical that my father had created. It was a small one, but he thought that I would, want to run an export enterprise, which was traumatic for me at that time to even think of. But it was Adi that got me out of that deep dungeon of like being in a 9-to-5 job and said, "You're a filmmaker, you just don't know it yet." And I'm glad that, he said what he did and, acted on it.
He obviously saw something in you that
Which
we
I
all
have
are
no
seeing
clue.
proof
I have
of today.
no idea what he saw
We're all
at
seeing
that
proof
time.
of that today. Tell me, Karan, when you made Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, you were coming out from the success of a film like Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, Dilwale Dulhaniya, and then there was, of course, Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. How important a role do you think music plays in Indian films and specifically in your films?
I have to say, music is everything to me. From the age of, since there was consciousness, there was music in my life. And there was just Hindi film music initially. All I did was listen to the radio with my mother. All I did was dance to those songs on my own. All I did was just listen to those time cassettes coming in. I saw the transition from the cassettes to the LPs to the CD to eventually the chip to eventually the press of a button on the phone.
Are you trying to prove that you're old?
I am. Unfortunately, darling, I am old. Old as in much older than you. But I have seen it all. From the age of 6, all I did was listen to music. And I, at that point of time, just tracked cinema because of the music. I was sitting, other kids my age wanted to watch all kinds of cartoons or superhero, or read superhero comics. I used to wait for Chaya Geet. I used to come at that time. Or I used to wait for, like, when I'd come back from school, I would listen to the radio every single day. Vivid Bharti was my best friend. Doordarshan was my best friend. It was just what I did in those days. And all I did was watch movies because of the music that I had. Lata Mangeshkar was a goddess to me then, is a goddess to me now. Kishore Da, Mohammad Rafi Saab, Asha Ji, absolute 4 pillars of the best music in the world. And what I would have done to be in a room with Mr. R.D. Burman, just so sad. And your genius invention of Saregama, the Caravan. Do you know, even if now if you come to my room, or you come to my car, wherever I am in the world, I have everyone in my immediate, working force knows that car, even if my passport is not there, I'm okay when I'm traveling. But that caravan has to be with me. That's all I listen to. That's all I listen to. If you ask me, and this is not like an advertisement for karma. This is truly something. If you saw in Rocky or Rani, it was what I truly believed in, and I believe in today that the music of the past is just that is my only inspiration that has kept me going today. When in doubt, it's Lag Ja Gale. When in joy, it's Lag Ja Gale, and when in sadness, it's Tujhse Naraz Nahi, and I can go on. And when in romance, it's Chaudhary Ka Chand.
Thank you so much for that, Karan. That's very gracious of you. But will you sing one line for us?
No. So I have to tell you one thing about myself. If there is a tone-deaf person in this universe, it's me.
So how do you make such brilliant music for all your friends?
I think having a ear for it and having a voice for it are totally 2 different things. Don't have the voice. My mother and my children have time and again. My children have once sat me down and said, "Dada, you can't sing. So why do you keep singing?" Because I keep singing in the house when I don't know no one's. They say dance like no one's watching. But I shouldn't be singing, even if people are watching or not watching, because I can't sing. I am a ear sore to others. So as much as I would love to, but I don't want to embarrass myself in front of such an illustrious room.
Okay, we'll let you pass that one.
Thank you.
But in true Karan Johar style, and I don't know if I can pull it off, we'll do a quick rapid fire before we open it to the audience.
This I will be fine with.
Okay. 3 words to describe a Karan Johar film.
Grand, glamorous, and hypersensitive.
Karan Johar, the director, the producer, or the talk show host?
The director, 1 to 10.
Social media, asset or liability?
It can be a liability if you think it's too much of an asset.
Good one. 50 years from now, Karan Johar will be remembered as?
Firstly, dead, and Well, he came, he showed, and hopefully conquered.
Well said. If you did a remake of Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, who would you cast as Rahul and Anjali today?
I don't think you can replace Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol ever.
Couldn't agree with you more. Apart from Karan Johar, your top 3 directors.
Sanjay Leela Bansali, Rajamouli, Zoya Akhtar.
And that's all I have.